What's on your evil mind?
Hold your insulting tongue and mark my words well.
How about this rumor that you are really hired Mr. Stark?
And welcome to another exciting episode of the KLIQ Nation's Comic Book Chronicles. Not with us tonight, our PCN_Dirt, who is away out of town on a mini vacation. And also not with us tonight is, what do we call him? Tim Dad 98?
Tim Dad 98. Shout out to Classic Materia for that one.
Shout out to Classic Materia on Twitter. Tim Dad 98, Tim Dog, aka Tim Dog 98, is still on his Timbatical. And we look forward to, finally reforming the CB-Cron Voltron at some point. But here tonight on the KLIQ Nation's Comic Book Chronicles is our very own at Roddy Cat on Twitter. And of course, after a week away on the sound effects tonight, this is at Agent_70, changing things up just a bit. That's right. So look forward to hearing, I hope you guys enjoy and look forward to hearing the new sounds that I'm incorporating into the show. Make sure to join us every week on roughly the same bat time and the same bat channel at theclicknation.com/live. Make sure to follow us at our individual social media accounts. I'm at age_70 on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow at RoddyCat, as I said, at RoddyCat, KAT, and at News Nerds Need on Twitter. And you can follow RoddyCat on Instagram at CBCaps. He runs that Instagram handle with sound effects to boot. And make sure to follow our other co-hosts who aren't here tonight at PCN_Dirt on Twitter. You can follow his other handle at PopCultureNet on Twitter. Go to his website at popculturenetwork.com and www.ineedcomics.com, and follow at TimDog98 as he breaks breaking comic book news at TimDog98 and at CBCron and at TheClickNation on Twitter. And make sure to go to our website www.theclicknation.com. You can find our umbrella podcast network, the Cold Slither Podcast Network, that is CSPN Media. You can go to cspn.us, do it today. And subscribe to our podcast at the various podcast resources, such as Google Play, Mixcloud, SoundCloud, iTunes, and other fine podcast resources. And remember to shop at shop.cspn.us to buy some CB-Cron merch, as well as merch from other shows on the CSPN Media Network. With that, we're going to jump into this week's reviews. I guess we decided to lead off this week with one of the books that both Roddy Cat and I read. That is Ms. Marvel number 32, and I think it's a good choice to start.
Agreed. We here at the Comic Book Chronicles, at least half of us have been pretty high on Ms. Marvel since its inception, since her inception, I would say.
Sure.
Safe to say.
Absolutely.
And this book continues to be just a solid book, good book to read. Luckily I've been able to catch up with this one. So in this particular issue, we find that well, I don't know if we would say that things are kind of getting back to normal, because nothing's ever really normal with Kamala Khan.
Sure. I would say that this is an excellent jumping on point
It
for
very
new
much-
readers.
I mean, the only thing is like it doesn't necessarily allude to past stuff, but there's some stuff that they kind of bring up slightly, you know, that you would have missed out on, because
Right.
you wouldn't understand, like, well, wait, why are these two talking like this?
I agree, but at the same time, you kind of get the gist. And to be honest, these characters that we're referring to, that is Bruno and Kamala Khan, they're looking to get off to a fresh start of their own, or a reboot of their relationship, and that's why I think it's a pretty solid place for a new reader to jump on board.
Which, and I guess we may talk about this because there's something that's outside of this that comes up in another book that I read this week, but we'll get to that in a minute, I would think. But yeah, so they're trying to kind of reboot themselves as an Agent 70 said. But the main thing, and as my notes have brought up, like, this issue brings up a couple of questions, or at the very least one question that has been kind of, that I didn't think I was curious to know about up until a couple of issues ago, because like I said, I just caught up with this book probably a few days ago. And there was something that kind of came up in one of the issues that was like, why is that a thing, or what's going on here? And in this issue, it kind of gets brought up again, actually, which is kind of funny, and that is kind of the nature of Kamala's powers. So, you know, with Bruno and Kamala trying to kind of, I guess, reboot and rekindle their relationship, whatever it may be going forward. Bruno gets the idea, is like, since he was away in Wakanda, like, wondering how Kamala's powers work. And like I said, a few issues back, I kind of wondered that, since we found out, since a weakness of hers kind of got re-brought up a couple issues ago, and it brought that up, and that kind of comes back up in this issue, because like I said, they're doing tests on her power, and during the course of the issue, you know, as we are come to find out more about this, or roughly trying to find out about this, something comes along that kind of tests out her weaknesses, I guess, more or less.
Right. I mean, you know, this is all a very
or heightened it, I guess I should say.
Right. You know, there's a long history in comic books of heroes who are constantly testing the limits of their powers, either because of a power change, or you know, some accident, you know, affecting how they control their powers. I can recall multiple instances where, you know, the sciencey members of a team, you know, like e.g. The Beast, or you know, Mr. Fantastic, you know, running tests on a teammate whose power is a little out of whack, or, you know, trying to test out the upper and lower limits. And that, you know, in a solo book like this, you know, this is definitely you know, in that vein of stories. And it's interesting that you know, G. Willow Wilson is choosing now to use this as a way to explore the, you know, the various limits, because we all sort of understood Kamala's powers to be X, this embiggening and the shrinking thing. But you know, now that I guess we've seen more and more Ant-Man / Giant Man stuff, we'll talk about that, I'm sure, you know, if we bring up the movie. But you know, there's probably a heightened consciousness about what, you know, that stuff, you know, entails. So it's kind of a cool time for, you know, newer readers or younger readers to think, well, I wonder how it, you know, her powers actually do work, considering what happens to her and her uniform when she uses them.
Right. Which I remember having, like, a while ago, having issues, not necessarily issues, but
Questions.
was kind of curious as to, wait, how does this other stuff, you know, going along with her, especially, as a matter of fact, I remember exclusively remembering her, the bangles that she wears when she's in costume.
Right.
wait a minute, okay, because obviously her clothes and whatnot. Until this issue, like, okay, you unstable molecules, you could say something like that or whatever.
Right.
You know,
Reed Richards is nowhere to be found.
right, but exactly, and none of that was ever the case. But in this issue, we see it's like, well, wait a minute, she's embiggening and shrinking, or I guess they call it ensmallening now. I can't remember what the word they're using now for that. But regardless, and her clothes goes with her, and there's no unstable, in her regular clothes, there's no unstable molecules, and that kind of good mess. So all of that kind of gets brought up in this one. And then, of course, her weakness kind of gets re-brought up. Because, like I said, I can't remember what issue it was, but it was an issue where it was brought up probably 3 or 4 issues ago. And Captain Marvel kind of asked Kamala a question, was like, well, wait, you didn't have Iron Man, fix that for you? Put some Faraday lining in your clothes, I remember. And
Right.
It was like, that was a thing? That's a thing? It was like, yeah, what's the point in having an Iron Man if you can't get the thing fixed? So, and apparently she still has not had that done as the course of it. Which ends up being a problem because, hey, guess what? Knowing that her weakness is kind of electricity based, then along comes a villain that could exploit that if he actually knew it.
Right, somewhat. And what we're talking, and the villain that we're talking about, was very well written by G. Willow Wilson in this issue. We're referring to old school Spider-Man bad guy, the Shocker.
Right, which I'm kind of surprised they didn't go with Electro, but hey.
Right. That would be too on the nose.
Right.
So with the Shocker, it's just it's so it's so well written. It's so knowingly silly, but at the same time still very much playing out like a superhero encounter would, superhero / and supervillain encounter would. So I give her all the credit in the world for writing this. I had a lot of fun reading that particular interaction.
Yeah, same here. So yeah, and I suspect, obviously, with the Shocker come along, and what's happening in the course of the issue with Kamala and her powers and whatnot, we will find out a little more tie as to what the weakness is and probably how to combat it because of it. Sure. Pretty sure, obviously they did not use the Shocker. The Shocker is there for a reason and not Electro. If the weakness is like just as cut and dry as what was explained,
right,
or what came out in the issue and previous issues.
But it was still a lot of fun to just read the whole the testing montage. I hate to call it that.
I love, and I kind of love how it starts off because first Bruno's like, "Can you swim?" and she's like, "What?" And then the next page is just like, "I hate all my life choices." And actually, as Agent _ 70 said, this is a good jumping off point, but it is also like I would recommend, if you are so inclined, to just go back and read. Actually, it's more than 32 issues because there's 32 issues of this volume, but go back to the previous volume. But regardless, there's always something to pick out in the world or in the panels around her. And in this case, there was like when they were in the pizza shop.
Oh, yeah.
And the name of the pizza shop was called Mario and Luigi's, which if you're a gaming fan, you know what that is a reference to.
Well, do you happen to have your copy open or your review copy open?
I do not know.
Oh, well, when you look at it again, you notice that at some point Kamala and Bruno go out to a rooftop.
Yes. And
it looks like there's 2 of the 3 good feather pigeons up there.
Yes, I did. You know what? I didn't even think about the good feathers thing, but you're right. And because even one of the pigeons just kind of gave like a screw face or whatever.
That's right.
Yeah.
So on a related sound effect.
Now that's comedy.
So.
Oh yeah, and it's awesome that they kind of kept that up, even though the artist changed and the artist style was still similar as when Takeshi Miyazawa was drawing this.
Right, and I've always talked about this, and I just haven't done the homework. The colorist is doing their level best to maintain the exact same look, so that it's consistent throughout all these issues. So you are never thrown off, by even subtle changes in the art.
Agreed. So, like I said, Miss Marvel, always good book.
Good stuff. So I'm going to jump to, if we're done with Ms. Marvel.
Go ahead.
Everything okay?
Oh, yeah. This is something I
So I'm going to jump to some of the big launches that came out this week. It looks like I read a few more books than Roddy this week, so I'm going to try to knock these out. The first book I'm going to bring up is Amazing Spider-Man #1, a new #1 for Spidey under the guidance of Nick Spencer and Ryan Ottley, formerly of Invincible, and now on one of his first big assignments for the big two. So let's hope that he does well. I enjoyed this book. Tim Dog 98 passed along a note saying that he liked this book, and he is curious to see if it's another fake out in a relationship that Peter Parker is maintaining, and I'm going to get to that in a second. This is an extra long book, so there's a lot to digest in this. What Tim Dog 98 is referring to right up front is on the very first page of the book, where it's very strongly hinted at that Peter and one, spoiler alert, you guys gotta bear with me. My soundboard program is different, so my layout is slightly different. It's color coded, but still I have to kind of get over the fact that things are in different places now. So here's the spoiler bell. Mary Jane and Peter may or may not be getting back together, and it's strongly hinted that they are. And one, Tim Dog 98, is curious to see if this is another Peter MJ fake out. Semi-curious about that. But ultimately, what we have here is Nick Spencer creating a brand new status quo. That's what #1 issues are for. So we have everything from a new living situation for Peter Parker, where he's literally rooming with one of Nick Spencer's favorite freaking characters. If you read Superior Foes of Spider-Man, you kind of have an idea who that might be. I'll leave it at that without spoiling too much. And we have Fishbowl Head returns, and if you are a fan of Marvel and Spider-Man, you know what character I'm referring to. That is a mild spoiler for people who don't know. It's a strong spoiler for people that do.
And you've kept up with fairly recent movie news about Spider-Man, probably also. Yeah,
exactly. So again, as I said, Nick Spencer's creating a brand new status quo, translating things from Dan Slott's long run on Amazing Spider-Man, and basically creating new situations out of them and changing them, transforming them, taking some away. So it's a very much a shift from what we knew of Peter Parker's situation at the end of Dan Slott's run, and Spencer creating a brand new direction for Peter Parker. I can say that I don't know. I'm still on the fence. That's the best way to put it. I'm on the fence about Ryan Ottley's art. There's a surprisingly well done art book. There's a surprisingly well done comic out this week that I was surprised to enjoy the art far more than I did on this. I enjoyed the story on this because it was kind of interesting to see Spencer kind of tear down Peter Parker even further than what we're used to. Like take away all the little things that made Spidey's life tolerable at the end of Slott's run. So it's interesting to see Spencer do all that and take that away, but definitely start in new and seemingly difficult directions for Peter to follow. So I'm looking forward to see where this goes. I'm not so keen on the art, but I'm willing to give Oddly, a little bit more time to grow on me, his style. So we'll see. Tim Dog 98 really liked this issue, apparently. We'll get to that later on.
I'm kind of skimming through this right now, and because I wanted to see who the person you were talking about that he's rooming with, and I see interesting.
Well, I dropped pretty strong hints, but then when you see it, you're just like, oh,
Right. Well, no, I meant one of them, but of the other one.
oh yeah.
But that's weird. I like the Call of Duty reference there. That's funny.
Oh, you should read it because it's a good jumping on point. It's a number one.
Yeah.
You may not even be all that familiar with how Spidey ended his story in under Dan Slott. So you may not even realize that a lot of the stuff was, like a long time coming for Peter, and then all of a sudden, boom, you don't know what you got until it's gone. Shout out to Janet Jackson doing a cover of I'm forgetting her name. Joni Mitchell, thank you.
There's even a reference to I guess questionably maligned Spider-Man arc.
Yes,
I'm seeing, so that's kind of amusing. Anyway, yeah, all right.
So just allow me to jump to the other big launch of the week, and that is Superman #1. This is by Brian Bendis and Ivan Rice. I can tell you that Ivan Rice's art on this is top notch. If you are even mildly interested in reading something new and don't mind trying to get into what Bendis is trying to do with Superman, just read this for Ivan Rice's art because it is top notch, beautiful stuff. So it definitely helps to have read Bendis's Man of Steel coming into this, because a lot of this stuff is intertwined. A lot of this stuff is related to what has come before in those I think it was 5 issues, a 5-issue limited series of Man of Steel. So that's, that kind of set the tone for the Superman book. And, a lot of stuff follows directly out of that. So if you're trying to figure out what's going on, they do a decent job in this issue of setting the table for, who's where and why certain characters are not around when you would expect them to be. So, it's okay in that regard, but I think it's definitely preferable to know, having read the Man of Steel miniseries. So I would definitely recommend catching up on that. There is an allusion to and a pretty big reference to Superman Returns in this. It was Returns, right, with Brendan Routh?
Yes.
Right.
Just not seen that one yet, but yes.
Yeah, there's a pretty strong reference to that in this. So at least in terms of a rebooted home of quietness for Superman. We'll leave it at that.
I have not read Man of Steel or this, but from what you just said and from an article or two that I've read about some things that he's going to do.
Well, there you just spoiled yourself reading the article. So
no. This the article had to do with something I think else.
Okay.
But which we'd already talked about in the previous show.
Okay.
But or we may have alluded to it in the pre-show. Either way, it doesn't matter. But what it seems like is Bendis just going to run through all of the Superman movies and reference things there.
Possibly. So
it also fit with something he's done with other characters in the past and whatnot. I'm not sure.
Right. And we definitely end on a 2-page cliffhanger, which is beautifully rendered by Ivan Rice. And as you said, we may very well be referencing one of the Superman movies, in this opening story arc. So so that does it for the 2 big launches of the week. What do you got, Roddy?
Well, let us go to, why did I even take that voice? I do not know. Actually, let's go to Champions. We both read that one.
Okay.
So I think pretty much everything else I have after this can be
rapid fire.
Yeah. So Champions number 22, which I need to write. I'll do it in a second. So what we have here is another book that it would probably help to have read other materials in a sense, but you don't necessarily need to for some of it, because what we have here is basically we're caught up with a few different current events. Actually, we're pretty much current evented at this point because this takes place after Avengers No Surrender. It takes place after the Infinity Countdown Champions.
Right. I don't appreciate that Infinity Countdown Champions became like required reading and collecting to maintain a run on this, you know?
I wasn't crazy about that one either. But
like, am I gonna have to go track down that issue now?
Well, it's 2 issues, and
2 issues.
The second one is probably more directly tied,
right? The current events,
right, because of the way it plays out, and brings up something into this book. Actually, now that I think about it, that is, I guess, is going to play out at some point. So yeah. I mean, if you took out the review copy, you check it out.
Yeah, no, I've got my review copy, but at the end of the day, you know, I read it, but I'm just very disappointed that itself turned into, you know, like for the completist collector, turned into a required purchase. That's kind of annoying. But anyway,
which kind of lucky, but unlucky. Like, I have not been reading any of those Infinity Countdown books, but my comic book guy just kind of gave it to me because it's Champions.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, just put it in there because it's Champions. Well, all right, yeah, fine, I'll do it just in case to see what happens of it. And sure enough, yeah, it ended up being some stuff that came out of it, but also
it's pretty vital.
Yeah, basically. And also, like Incredible Hulk, like a past Incredible Hulk and Spider-Man, you might want to read, but they kind of allude to it that, so it's not like required reading for that. But if you're curious to know, is to at least the Spidey front, you know, if you're curious to know what happened there, but the Incredible Hulk one kind of plays slightly directly in this one, given what happened, because we find out that
the Totally Awesome Hulk is no more.
Exactly. He now has a new code name and looks a little different.
He's an Autobot.
He's an Autobot?
Remember that? You don't remember that code name as an Autobot? Shout out to PCN_.
Yeah. Totally forgot about that. I was thinking of the paper towels, but
no, because it's not on. It's a version of the name of the paper towel.
Yes, but you're right. He does have the name of an Autobot right now, which would be funny if they ever did another crossover. But yes, and of course, if you've been watching or been paying attention to the news, he and Riri Williams got a new suit, basically.
Right. Yeah, that and the change in status of Sam Alexander are directly out of the Infinity Countdown crossover.
Yes. So definitely between last issue and this one, if you haven't read those issues, you might want to, because then you would definitely be confused. This was like, well, even though they kind of allude to it there, but it doesn't give you what actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
So, given that, you know, Sam Alexander is Nova no more. I'm not going to spoil that right now.
Right.
So he's kind of feeling some kind of way about himself and his place with the team because of that, and I wouldn't say, I guess being understandably upset, you know, given the situations, because, you know, first he had this and now he doesn't, which if you've read the Infinity Countdown issue, it was kind of that was a weird way to handle things.
To do it. Yeah, absolutely.
I was like, really? Because I kind of figured it's like, well, clearly he's, you know, with what was going on there, like there's going to be some big thing, and then, you know, it's going to be some. But they just whoop, and things happen. So
absolutely,
that was a thing. So yeah. So but anyway, we have the champions on a new mission there with the new Timber, whose code name I don't recall was ever given out before this issue. Or let me phrase that, before the Infinity Countdown mission.
I think it was. I think it was in her first appearance.
You sure? Because I don't
know. No, not the first issue, but like the second, like against the Master of the World or whatever it is.
But I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember them actually giving her that, because like I said, I've caught up with that one recently, and I'm like, I don't remember them giving her that name then. But and then they may have, and I just kind of glossed over it, whatever the case may be.
Yeah,
so yeah,
that's it. Because that's not the first time I've read that, but or calling her that. So,
but yeah, the first time I remember seeing that was in the Infinity Countdown book.
Okay. So the other kind of big plot line that's weaving its way through this book is deals with the Vision and Viv Vision, and part of what happens in this book really requires you to have read what happened in the Vision miniseries.
Well, yeah, part of it, but more so the reading of Avengers No Surrender directly.
Right. Well, I mean that's what leads to the current situation. But in terms of some of the things that Viv experiences, I definitely think that you need to have read the Vision miniseries and obviously be caught up on what's been happening in Champions. So,
which realistically, read Vision anyway. It was a
right.
damn series.
Right.
So, I mean, that aside, if you care anything about the Vision, or know anything about the Vision, you should check that out.
Absolutely. So, ultimately, we have the Champions on this mission into Tanzania to do some humanitarian aid, and they run into kind of the last character you would expect to find in Tanzania.
All right.
We're kind of far away from the Everglades of Florida. That's a big hint as to who this might be.
Right. But hey, given that there's I assume the Nexus or something is going to come into play at some point, maybe that's probably why. I don't know. But
I just think it's funny.
Yeah, I know, right? Because it was like, and I think I might have had a slight heads up as the fact that this character was going to be in here, but and not though. I guess would we call him an obscure character at this point?
I wouldn't say so, because this character has been on the Thunderbolts.
Well, yeah, but how long ago was that?
It has been a while.
So, but if
I have a Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure of this character.
Nice.
He was the Marvel Knights one, I think.
Which yeah, that would play because it was in that line too, I think. Yeah. But what was I going to say? So yeah, so this character being in here is kind of weird, and being away from his where he normally is, and his interactions with one Vision. And the new champion Snowguard, which by the way, so Snowguard is the new champion. They came across her in the last couple of issues prior to this,
right?
And it got me to thinking: is she just like basically Vixen mixed with Snowbird?
I was about to say she's pretty much Snowbird.
I mean, yeah, for the most part, but at the same time, like her.
Because Vixen, I think, only changed into non-snow animal.
Well, actually, she never changed. She just used their powers.
Oh, that's right. No. My apologies, because she always had the aura, like the way they would depict it around her.
But you're actually more right. She's absolutely more Snowbird than, which is kind of funny, given that the last arc that she came in on, the Alpha Flight was with
exactly
with him. So, and I was thinking about that. I was like, that's weird. But nevertheless, she's like, she might end up being a cool character.
I hope I hope they have a chance to develop her. She got a little annoying in this issue because of the way they characterize her language.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Like the little nickname that she gives Viv, calls her Vivi. I'm just like, shut up.
Right, and I was just like, well, I suspect I have the strangest feeling that there's going to be some developments in between between those two characters.
Sure. Alrighty.
I might be wrong about that, and I kind of hopefully I am. Not saying that it wouldn't be cool, but it's just like, well, that's just predictable. If it happens like that. But regardless, this issue was a pretty decent. Like I said, you have to come into this issue with knowledge of what has happened already in the universe at large, and specifically,
it definitely helps. Let's not say that this is impossible for someone to read if they're coming in cold, but it definitely helps.
No, it's not, but it alludes to the things kind of heavily, and it's like, okay, well, especially if you're just coming from last issue, and then like, well, okay, well, how did this actually happen, and when did this happen? Which it tells you that, but you still don't know what, and that kind of stuff.
This issue is like an advertisement. Is like a subtle advertisement for Marvel Unlimited.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, you need to catch up. Download this and join us for however much it is a month.
Except the issues you'll need to catch up on won't be out there until the next in 4 months. So,
well, no, not the issues of the champions. Yeah, exactly. But if you want to go dig deeper into like Vision and
well, yeah,
whatchamacallit? Yeah, no, the whatchamacallit. You were saying
in current issues of Champions.
No, disassembled. Not disassembled. Avengers.
No Surrender.
No Surrender. No Surrender. So yeah, that's it.
Oh yeah. So yeah, Champions 22. That's that.
Alrighty. So just before we go into rapid fire, I think we can both throw one more book each. Unless you want to go into rapid fire. It's up to you.
I got 3 more books, and all of them can be rapid fire as far as I'm concerned.
All right. So if you want me to spin it up, I'll spin it up.
But
ooh, that's a nice, crisp Vulcan machine gun sound effect.
You want to do yours? You want me to do mine? Actually, you know what? We got 3. I'll do mine. So Exiles number 5. So this is the end of this arc. I almost thought this was the end of the book, the way things were going, because it felt like, okay, some things were happening like really too fast. But then I realized this is kind of how Exiles go, especially originally. And this one doesn't disappoint, because in true Exiles fashion, the end of the arc means some things happen, the old order changes, somebody dies. Spoiler alert. But in this one, we have OG Nick Fury and the Exiles versus some Kang Galactus.
Good.
There we go. We'll leave it. Yeah, because basically it's a version of Kang that ended up getting the powers of Galactus, but bending them to eat realities and not worlds.
Okay.
And this is the final. Well, I guess the final standoff between the Exiles and Kang Galactus. And like I said, the old order changeth, and I guess the next arc is going to keep that tradition, or keep the tradition of the Exiles going. But we do actually see some, at the very least, one original I keep saying Exiles member, so, which, you know, Saladin Ahmed has kind of done before in the course of these 5 issues. But it's still cool to see if you're a fan of the book, or a fan of the previous run of the book. Let's see. Domino number 4. Agent 70. You may or may not want to check this issue out. Wow.
Okay.
Because this one and the last issue introduced a character that both of us have a fondness for, and is a little bit out of the way for reasons that this, I guess, the last issue kind of gets into, and that would be Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu.
Okay.
Yes. Who Domino ends up taking, playing a visit to, and kind of starts having feelings for.
Okay.
That may or may not manifest in the course of this issue.
Oh no. Well, the cover is a mild giveaway.
Pretty much. So that is not so much of a spoiler. But yeah, so you know, we're fans of Shang-Chi, and he deserves better than what he's gotten out of that one issue that shall not be named. This was, you know, kind of a fun issue, and you know, I'm still kind of on board, at least to the very end of this arc, as to what's going on with Domino. We also see a little bit of backstory into one of the villains. Actually, probably both of the villains, now that I think about it, but one of the villains in particular that Domino's been going up against the last couple of issues. So, and I imagine we will continue to see a little bit more going forward. Last but not least, which I should have probably done previously already, but Titans number 23. So this is another one that's like, well, if you haven't read the Titans specials that came out in the last couple of weeks, you might be slightly confused because there are two new teams of Titans. Like one this one's still led by Nightwing, and the other Teen Titans book, which is pretty much the rogue Teen Titans that were left. So, but this issue has the new team which is a combination Titans and Teen Titans book. I mean, Titans and Teen Titans squad go into action for the first time with the addition of Steel, and not the original one, but his daughter.
Really?
Yes.
So John Henry Irons had a daughter, and now she's taken up the mantle?
Correct.
Okay.
At least that way. Is his daughter? Yes, his daughter. Because I keep getting confused because I know like Black Lightning had like cousins and they end up having powers, and I keep thinking it was like a similar thing here with Steel, but no, I think it's his daughter. And she's super smart, so she's doing some of the tech, but she's also wearing the version of Steel armor, and it's got a hammer and all that kind of good stuff. She's also on the team because Nightwing picked her out, but you have to see Titan Special #1 to check all that out.
Okay.
To see them coming together as a team. But in this case, like I said, this is Nightwing's team, who are pretty much like the first response team when there are new metas that come about. And like on this mission, they come across some energy that spawned a couple of new metas, and they had to deal with that, not without some bumps along the way. Oh, and Miss Martian is also on the team in true Young Justice fashion, but she was put on the team by Martian Manhunter for a reason. And if you know anything about Young Justice and Miss Martian, then you know that she comes with a secret, and not the one that actually was a big thing in Young Justice, but another one is the reasons why Martian Manhunter put her on the team. So that's going to be something that's going to play out, I'm sure in a couple of months. But nevertheless, there's some tension between Miss Martian and Nightwing as to how some things, go with the team. And there's some other issues with other members of the team that they're kind of trying to iron out. But nevertheless, the mission kind of gets done one way or the other, and it just kind of leads to some other things going down the line.
Okay.
Is that?
Alrighty, so let me get to my rapid fire books this week. First up, Daredevil number 605. This is the last issue in this particular story arc involving the invasion of New York City by the Hand and the Beast, and Daredevil and some Knights of Templar, the Order of the Dragon, basically take on the Hand and the Beast, and it's a lot of actually good rollicking fun. And there's some possible changes to the status quo of Matt Murdock as employee of the city. So that's that's in this issue. It's a pretty satisfying wrap to this story arc, and it's and it actually sets up the next story arc very well with semi cliffhangery last page. Mech Cadet U number 10. Oh, if you guys.
So before you go on to that one, the Beast you're referring to is not Hank.
No, it's not Hank. It's not Hank McCoy.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
It's okay. The Beast, as in the Hand, the Beast, the demon, the devil.
Sure.
Mech Cadet U number 10. If you guys are not reading this book by Greg Pak and Takeshi Miyazawa, you should be. It is a lot of fun. It is fairly kid-friendly. There's some, monster gore involved, but it's definitely well told, well crafted. It's going to be a pleasure to read this in a collected form. Next up, Flash number 50. PCN_Dirt had been reading this, and I was really hoping that he would be on tonight. So shout out to PCN_Dirt, who did warn us ahead of time that he would be probably out of town this week, tonight specifically. So I kind of wish that he had been on to talk about this issue, because it's the culmination of this Flash war, I believe. And there's a lot of we've been talking all night about foreknowledge, like having some knowledge ahead of time before reading something. And this particular story arc on the Flash is definitely requires having some knowledge before going into this the Flash's history, going back to the mid 90s. And I have some of that, and even with that, I still kind of found myself trying to figure out why things were happening the way they were happening. And ultimately, we're dealing with all these forces that are unleashed as a result of the Justice League destroying the source wall over in Dark Knight's Metal and blah 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 and all this other stuff. And that has ultimately become a source for many storylines in the DCU coming out of that. So the Flash is no different. So if you want to see lots of speed stuff and maybe the setting of a new status quo in the Flash corner of the DCU, pick up this issue. It's not necessarily new reader friendly, but if you want to see how this particular epic story arc ends and maybe think about where they're going from here, you can at least peruse this issue. Finally, a surprisingly fun read this week was X-23 #1. And on script, the writer of this book is Mariko Tamaki, and the artist is Juan Cabal. And I gotta give Cabal and the colorist Nolan Woodard a lot of credit, because this is a very pretty book to look at. The art is solid, the colors are solid. This, like no slight and no disrespect to Ryan Ottley, but if I had seen this art team take on Amazing Spider-Man, I think I would have enjoyed that issue a lot more than I did. And if you just flip through this, you'll know what I mean. So this is a lot of fun. It's great to see X-23 and the Honey Badger go to work. It makes me want to pick up, kind of go back on like Amazon or eBay or something and pick up the X-23 Marvel Legend. And I really hope they put out a Honey Badger one at some point too. That'll be pretty cool. I like the interactions in this. I like the storyline in this because the antagonist that they set up for future issues is an X character that we are familiar with, but remember we've like all night we've been talking about this week's books requiring some knowledge before some knowledge ahead of time before reading this week's issue. Well, this issue is no different, but at the same time, I think Tamaki does an excellent job of recapping why certain characters are acting the way they are, given their recent history, what's happened to them in the recent past. So there's definitely a well done recaps in the pages of this book to help provide the backstory and the depth as to why characters are doing what they're doing. So this is a surprisingly fun read. It's a #1. It's meant to draw readers in, and I think it does very well. And that's it for my rapid fire this week. So I guess we're going to come into our clicks of the week. Wait, what do you got?
But before you do that, I wanted to go back on something because I just forgot. Well, first of all, shout out to Matt Wang 97 who just joined us live. But I wanted to show. I'm glad he showed up because I wanted to show this particular screenshot from Plastic Man #1. If you're watching the video, which you should sometimes, you should check it out because it has one Plastic Man doing this thing and shouting what apparently was I don't know if it's some actual slang, but it is some slang.
Oh my goodness!
It is some slang that was said in a couple of times in the course of that issue that I just read earlier.
Is this like a key? Is this just like a clear sign of getting old? That I don't recognize that as any sort of recognizable slang at all.
I'm not sure if it is, but you never know with Gail Simone. So I don't, hey.
That's hysterical. Shout out to @MattWang97 for joining us live. So.
Yeah. That said, I wanted to go back real quick on Exiles #5 because I just remember because we were talking about Miss Marvel and Kamala Khan is in or a version of Kamala Khan is in Exiles, and this issue actually brings up let's just say something about her relationship or about the relationship that she had in her timeline.
Right.
That could be something that could actually happen. Maybe not. We don't know. But nevertheless, thing. So that being said, clicks of the week.
That's hysterical. Matt shouting out Gail Simone directly on Twitter.
As he tends to do sometimes. Not Gail Simone, just in general.
Yeah.
But so yeah, clicks of the week. Want to go ahead and
Clicks of the week. Hold on. All right. Our very own at TimDog98 has chosen Amazing Spider-Man #1 by Nick Spencer and Ryan Otley as his click of the week.
I may end up checking that out later on, actually.
All right.
For myself, I'm weirdly slightly torn, but I think because of the gushing we probably gave it earlier, I'm just going to go with Miss Marvel #32.
It's a good choice because I'm, honestly, surprisingly enough, I'm torn between, as much as I didn't really enjoy Otley's art on this first issue of Amazing Spider-Man, I thought that Spencer did an excellent job of creating a brand new, lower than low status quo for Peter Parker. And I enjoyed that because it was pretty interesting, pretty entertaining in Amazing Spider-Man #1. However, I did also enjoy X-23 #1, surprisingly enough. I did pick up a hard copy, but it was long before I read this week's issue. I just picked it up on a lark, just thinking, oh, let me give this a shot. And it was really good. I'm actually very tempted to pick X-23 #1 as my click of the week over Amazing Spider-Man because it was just a lot of, just interest. It was just a fun issue to read. I really did like what Spencer did, though. So I think, I'm going to go with what I enjoyed the most. I'm going to go with X-23 #1 for my click of the week.
Right. And it is so ordered.
All righty. I should get a clip of Yul Brenner saying, "So let it be written, so let it be done," from the Ten Commandments. Now,
yeah, that would work better than what I was thinking of because I was thinking of "So Say We All" from BSG, but that probably wouldn't work all that well unless we all had the same click.
Right. So, yeah, that's a thought. So, all right. So I'm going to roll right into our first ad read of the night before we move on. So, first up is Blue Apron's meal delivery service. Blue Apron, fresh ingredients and incredible recipes delivered weekly to your door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron. Always shipped free right to your home. And now the listeners of the KLIQ Nation's Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. To place your first order with $30 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcasts free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today. All righty. So we're going to move on in the show and get to the news.
Yes, and we start off with a little bit of cinematic news, as we tend to do with, Infinity War Blu-ray apparently won't include 30 extra minutes of Thanos. Now, I don't know if there has been another update since then, but this happened a few days ago where we found out that obviously the Blu-ray is coming out, and I believe it's coming out at the end of this month, and there was
the digital's coming out end of the month. The Blu-ray's coming out like a couple weeks into August, I think.
Right. You're right. But nevertheless, the Blu-ray is incoming at some point.
Right.
And there was some speculation.
Sooner than you think. That's the point, right?
I mean, Black Panther kind of did the same thing because it was like a 2-month turnaround. Like most Blu-ray turnarounds is like 4 to 6 months. You know? tops, which that's funny.
Traditionally, right? Yeah.
Especially from like back in the day when it used to take way longer for stuff to get out on DVD. But nevertheless, so there was some speculation as to where they was going to have Thanos' backstory as one of the, like the deleted scenes, because apparently they may have actually filmed a lot of that stuff, but it seemed like that might not be the case in this. As we can see here, you know, we got some a breakdown of what could possibly be on the Blu-ray here, and that's a bunch of featurettes and you know.
Wait a second. So what was that story, Admiral Akbar?
It's a trap.
Yes, indeed. But regardless, like I said, it is a thing. When it comes out, we'll see if that's actually the case or not. But hey, I would be, well, I don't know. Infinity War was long enough as it was, but
right.
The 30 extra minutes of his backstory, which I guess more comic people would know is a non-issue, you know.
Right.
Okay. Although I don't know, they've changed the character a little bit, so we don't know, you know, or at least enough that it would be curious to see.
Mm-hmm.
We may not ever. So moving right along.
Alrighty. Related news: stunning Infinity War concept art reveals alternate takes on key scenes. So apparently, this art suggests the Battle of Nowhere could have ended much differently.
Mm-hmm. You haven't seen Infinity War? No, there are some people that probably still haven't actually.
Yeah, no, there's going to be people that haven't seen it yet. They don't want to deal with crowds, people like PC and underscore dirt. So
fair enough, because you know, before like a good 10 years ago, I would be the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that. But yeah, some concept art showing a whole bunch of stuff. Some of it might be on the Blu-ray. We don't know. I didn't think it even actually said here. But regardless, that's a thing. Avengers Infinity War gets an epic home video release. We kind of just talked about that. I don't know why I have this in here, but as Agent underscore 70 just said, the digital goes on digital for July 31st, and it goes on Blu-ray August 14th. That's kind of close to my birthday.
Okay.
Next up.
All right. Next up, Iron Man 2 actually foreshadowed Ant-Man and the Wasp. So apparently there's in Ant-Man 2 talking about Project Goliath, Goliath, and that is a foreshadowing of Bill Foster, aka played by Lawrence Fishburne in Ant-Man and the Wasp, the superhero alter ego of Bill Foster.
Well, except for the fact that it was from a deleted scene from Iron Man to Blu-ray or DVD, whatever the case may be. So if you did not watch the deleted scene, you would not have seen any of that. Next up, Spielberg endorsed Ant-Man and the Wasp's Ghost casting. So one Hannah John Kamen, I apologize for the mispronunciation of that. She of Killjoy's fame, she of Ready Player One, she of Force Awakens, she had a bit part in, and various others. She's been pretty hot lately. She's pretty good. So apparently Steven Spielberg wrote a letter to Peyton Reed, you know, a letter of recommendation, which, as this article goes on to say, that she necessarily didn't necessarily need, you know.
But it doesn't hurt.
Well, but definitely doesn't hurt. But you know, because like I said, she's put in a lot of work recently with what was she's also been in Black Mirror, Game of Thrones, and apparently that new Tomb Raider reboot. I haven't seen that one yet. But yes. But fans of hers may know her from the Sci-Fi Channel show Killjoys, which is a pretty great show. You should check that out if you are a fan of sci-fi.
Okay.
But yeah, that is that. I think there was something else in there, but that was pretty much it. So good on her.
Alrighty. Next up, the Captain Marvel MCU movie has wrapped principal photography. Wow. Yeah. Has it already been 75 days of filming?
Yeah, things churn, man. Things churn. Time flies also. So yeah, that just means all of the basic stuff. So they still need to do post and all that kind of other good stuff.
Effects and stuff and reshoots. So yeah.
But that just means that the main shooting is done. So we'll see it when it comes out next year. Into the Spider-Verse reportedly adds Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man Noir. So you all probably may or may not know by now that
I'm trying to find the right sound effect for this. I'm really not sure what to do.
yeah, I don't know. This could be
Hold
good.
on, I got one.
Ooh, I'm dying.
So the when I originally read this article, so as you all know, or folks know, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is the animated movie that is coming out at the end of the year. That showcases one Miles Morales and a bunch, and and Spider-Man, and of course,
And Spider-Verse characters.
yes. So we now know that there's, and this is a point I hadn't seen anything more about this, whether this is actually true or not, but this is just like say a report.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing about this is, especially where Nicolas Cage is concerned, I just saw, well, I've seen it before, but I just saw like a Kick-Ass or a part of Kick-Ass again.
Okay.
And if he is Spider-Man Noir, if he's playing it, ends up like the character, or
Maddie?
yeah, the character he played there, that will be amusing and sad all at the same time. Because we know that Nick Cage has a certain reputation for when he takes on, especially in his later years.
Yeah.
With the roles he takes and how he plays them.
Oh, one note.
Yes. Well, yeah, but you can say that about a lot of people nowadays also. But yeah, like he either kind of, but regardless, he tends to get into it. So, which is even as funny as anything else. But so, we will find out in December whether this is the case. And I don't know, Spider-Man Noir might be a good fit for him. And I don't know, especially like I said, if he plays it like his Kick-Ass character, which that would probably be against Spider-Man Noir now that I'm thinking about it, but funny nonetheless.
Okay. All right, next up, the artist behind the viral Frozone family fan art has a great pitch for an incredible spin-off movie. Okay.
That's all you really had to say, realistically.
Alrighty. Next up. I'm glad I kind of wanted this one. You go ahead. This will be fun.
Hey, go for it. Go for
it.
it.
No, because I have a bad, because you can't help but make a bad Colt 45 reference.
That would be, and this was probably a couple of the great news a couple of days ago, and that Star Wars Billy D. Williams reprising role as Lando, and as one Tim Dog 98 said, about time. And so the day this came out, it was like, okay, great, awesome. I mean, like legit awesome, because like this is the person we were expecting to see probably in Force Awakens, or at least before now.
Right.
I'm kind of worried slightly because they've been killing off all the old characters slightly, which I mean is what's going to happen at some point anyway. But I can only imagine what's going to happen in Episode 9,
right,
with this character. So it is a good thing. We will see Mr. Billy D. Williams and probably another What Have We Have Here.
Alrighty. Next up, FX's Y the Last Man TV series sets production this August in New York City. So it's going to start production in August too.
So go see if you can get a walk-on role.
Yeah, right?
So yeah, I'm not sure when this is actually supposed to be out, and it doesn't say here, but regardless, they're still like I said, production is just starting, and they just really got people cast. So it is what it is. Wonder Woman 2 release date, cast, trailer, and everything else you need to know. So we've seen a good bit of Wonder Woman 2 news lately, but what we did not know is when the movie is going to come out, and we now have a date. It is November 1st, 2019.
Wow.
And so we already know it's going to be set in 1984. We've seen, a couple of people, well, at least one person's coming back who you would think would probably not be back, but hey, we'll see how that works out. We also know that Kristen Wiig is playing Peter, and who's writing and who's directing, which is Patty Jenkins again. So there you go.
In related news, while Wonder Woman is, getting ready to, hit the big screen again, Gal Gadot in Wonder Woman costume stopped by Virginia Children's Hospital this past week and visited the kids in full Wonder Woman regalia. Good for her.
yeah, so Gal Gadot continues to show how awesome she is.
I'm
Which is
fairly certain we've confirmed that it's actually Gadot.
Gadot. Is it actually good?
I think so.
That's why you keep hearing me in past episodes going both ways with it,
Yeah.
and I wasn't really sure if that was the case or not. So
Neither was I, but I think I heard very recently that it's actually Gadot.
sure. Okay, well, and also Fast and Furious has been on cable lately. So,
Sure.
which is also kind of funny. But yeah, there's that. Good on her, and that's an awesome thing to do. The Rock offers Black Adam update. Says the movie could contain some big DC cameos, which, you know, Dwayne Johnson has kind of been going away from calling himself The Rock in previous movies and whatnot. So, you know, this is just everybody else still calling him that, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the Black Adam film is still coming. The Rock is still attached. He's still the star. Apparently, still possibly will not be in the Shazam movie. That is also had some news lately, which I think I may have forgotten to put in there. In that, you know, they've been showing stuff from
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. So that's shaping up.
Okay.
But yeah, Black Adam, like I said, Black Adam still won't appear in Shazam,
Yeah.
and it's like the movie might get a short teaser when the movie premieres. I guess that's
All right. So I was gonna move on to a DC movie project that we really don't know if we want.
Nobody wants this. No, nobody wants this. Nobody wants the other one.
The Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie is happening.
Yeah, somebody wants it. Those people are probably bad people, though.
So, you know, what once was rumored is now actually happening. Joaquin Phoenix has closed the deal to play the Joker in a spin-off origin film that's separate from the other DC Universe films. And you know what I got to say about this?
Oh, I'm dying again.
Or a good that boo one from Statland Water would have also worked.
Hey, boo!
Yes. So yeah, so this one's going. I believe the Jared Leto one is still happening again. We don't know why, but yeah, and I think this is supposed to be in an origin story. May or may not be based off of Killing Joke. We don't know. It's whatever. Batman the Animated Series comes to HD for the first time thanks to DC Universe. So Batman the Animated Series, that the crown jewel of DC animation, one could say.
Right, and it's fairly timeless too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can go back and watch it now and not really notice too much, you know, any shortcomings at all.
Oh yeah, it is totally an awesome show. You know, up there with Justice League and all that kind of good mess. Which actually, some would argue it might be better than Justice League. I'm not sure how I would feel about that, but regardless, great show. It's going to be in HD and it's also going to be on DC Universe, the streaming service, in HD. So. And I think that's going to be. Oh wait, so DC is going to officially confirm to IO9 that the first 2 seasons of Batman Adams animated series that will stream through DC will have been remastered and will be available in 1080p for the first time in series history. The 2 seasons will be available on HD, and will have a Blu-ray release, which I do remember seeing something about, but it's going to be at a later date. But they wanted to get the money for this first before they put them out. Now, mind you. There is more than 2 seasons, if I'm not mistaken, of the Batman TES, because there was because it turned into Batman and Robin, I think, at some third season. So I guess they're just doing the 2 initial ones, and then maybe they'll do the rest of that stuff later.
I was going to say the 2 oldest ones,
right? Which makes sense. You know, just hit around with the main stuff, because once they hit Batman and Robin, it's just kind of more stuff.
Alrighty.
So next up.
The rumor is that Birds of Prey, the DC Extended Universe's take on Birds of Prey, the film, will include Barbara Gordon, but not actually include the character of Batgirl. So I'm not sure how to feel about that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're saving that for, I guess,
the next one. Goodness.
Yeah, or a Batgirl movie, which I know has been rumored to be in development. So yeah, we don't know. Now, I guess the other question would be: will this be? I don't know if it says it. Will this be like wheelchair bound? Barbara.
Yeah.
especially if they're going to do the Batgirl movie, or this is going to be sometime later after that. And I don't know. We don't know. We don't know much about this outside of this.
No idea.
And I think Margot Robbie is attached to this one.
Really?
I believe this is the one she said she was trying to do. I can't remember. This article does not say, but I know there was definitely one that it was attached to, outside of the Harley stuff, I think. So next up, Black Canary returns in Arrow season 7 set photo. As we see here, Juliana Harkavy got a Instagram photo. She's back. I've not been keeping up with Arrow, so I don't know what's going on.
You got me.
Yeah. But that's the thing.
Alrighty. Keanu Reeves brings back the Baba Yaga and reveals John Wick 3 title. And the title is what is it? John Wick
Parabellum. Which personally, it's chapter 3. I don't care about this new one. Like, sure, okay, that's what it is. It's still chapter 3 to me.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I was also the funny to bring up the Baba Yaga, and if you
I was about to say there's a reason why I said that specifically, and I'll wait till the end so that we can do a little bit of like a mini treasury edition to kind of catch up on some of the media and movies and TV shows that have gone down the last couple of weeks.
Sure. And that being the case, Star Trek's Ira Steven Beyer, I think that's how I pronounce it, confirms DS9 doc will release this year. I'm excited because I love DS9. It's one of my favorite Trek show, and I believe it is also, as we have discussed previously on the show, also in PC_Dirts. So,
yeah, I like that. I like the idea of getting a behind-the-scenes doc about that. That's cool.
It is called, it's called What We Left Behind. It announced they had locked the picture on the film and confirmed it will be out sometime in 2018, which is the show's 25th anniversary. Locked picture means that the editing process is done and it's in the final production stages of post, which means it's going to be out relatively soon. Like I said, I'm looking forward to this because I am a big DS9 fan. I've been watching some lately, especially a couple of key episodes.
DS9 is streaming on Netflix, right?
It is, yes. All of them are on Netflix, and I believe they're also on Hulu. But yes, they're on Netflix.
There you go.
Peace.
Next up, Quantum and Woody TV series has found a home at TBS, Turner Broadcasting Station.
Totally forgot this was the thing that was happening, but it is, and it is coming out. It doesn't say when, but yeah, it's a thing that is coming. The head writer of Avatar: The Last Airbender is working on a new fantasy series at Netflix. I can't wait till we get our own show at Netflix because everybody's getting one. So yeah, what is to do better? But it's called The Dragon Prince, and interesting. Former Naughty Dog director Justin Richmond, Naughty Dog as a video game company, and Aaron Ahaz, I'm not sure how to pronounce them. My apologies. Has teamed up to form Wonderstorm, which is a new studio. Oh, that's why I've been seeing some of that stuff out on Twitter lately. So that makes sense. Okay, so anyway, the new show from those people are coming. So fans of Avatar: The Airbender, get ready for that.
Okay. Alrighty. So that wraps up cinematic news. At least we'll be getting into, I guess, a mini treasury edition at the end of the show in a few. But let's get through comic book news. First up, Cullen Bunn, writer of Marvel's as Guardians of the Galaxy, breaks down the lineup in that upcoming book.
Yep. Well, we know why these people have been put together for this book. When is it coming out? Doesn't say right there, and doesn't matter. But yeah, that book's coming soon.
Soon, yeah, because it's been in the solicits already. So
right. Hardboiled Noir Shadowstar title coming this October from Marvel.
Because somebody asked for it because somebody thought this character must have done well in Deadpool 2. Which is also coming out on video very soon.
That is also true, and the fact that the OG X-Force team has been in Cable book recently, also. So,
Right.
but definitely because of most undoubtedly because of Deadpool 2, and this is coming out October 3rd, and will be a 5-issue run. Tim Seeley is writing, and Carlos Villa is the artist on it.
Got it.
Next up, we've kind of already talked about this, and that Infinity Countdown.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the Infinity Countdown leaves 2 members of the Champions. Spoiler that we already spoiled already.
In different places, yes. So
sure. And the next story too. Champions debuts. Amadeus Cho's new name, upgrades, and Ironheart's armor.
Which we already talked about. At least Ironheart's new armor because going for it, and now it's out.
Right.
That is that.
All right. So that Roddy Cat's about to drop.
Yeah, some sad news for the comic world. Steve Ditko passes away at 90. Steve Ditko, artist that very profound, very you can pretty much say that there wouldn't be a whole lot of Marvel stuff
and DC stuff
if it wasn't for Steve Ditko, because he has drawn and helped create many characters for Marvel and DC, notably Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Squirrel Girl, on the DC side, Blue Beetle, Captain Atom, The Question, Hawk and Dove, Shade the Changing Man. Just the list goes on. Like, if you go down the list of stuff that he helped create and work on, it's extensive. So he's a sad loss creatively.
Right. And the guy, unfortunately, kind of shut himself off to the world. He's been called the J.D. Salinger of comics. He wasn't a complete recluse because he had a public office. He just didn't talk to a lot of people or let up a lot of people in on his life. He didn't allow his picture to be taken.
He never did too many interviews.
Exactly. So, he kept himself away from the public eye, and, unfortunately died alone. And it's a very lonely existence being an artist already. And it just stinks that, he basically died that way too. So it's my heart went out to him, because that really stinks to be in that position,
Yeah. So here is something that I can slightly identify with, because it says in this article that a quote from an actual interview that he did back in 1969. When I do a job, it's not my personality that I'm offering to readers, but my artwork. It's not what I'm like that counts. It's what I did and how well it was done. It's a product, a comic story. Steve Ditko is the brand name. So I can kind of sort of get behind that. He basically, I guess, it's saying that he put his art first and not his name.
Right. Or at least, parts of himself that are outside of the art. So.
And this article also says he was a strong believer in objectivism, which was developed by Anne Ryan. Take that for what you will.
Right.
And next up in Stan Lee Watch, if you want to take the next two.
Yeah, I got it. Marvel Studios is Kevin Feige weighs in on Stan Lee elder abuse allegations. I understand that Kevin Feige is always working on seeing what they can do about it, and it's a very sad situation. And in related news, Stan Lee drops the $1 billion lawsuit against POW Entertainment for, quote, stealing his name and likeness. I can follow up with the next one too. POW releases a statement on the Stan Lee lawsuit and social media accounts. So POW Entertainment has said that they addressed it. That's all it says.
Yeah, well, basically, I think it may have said something down here. Yeah, so there's a statement of full. We're not going to go into the whole thing, but basically, they were like, "Hey, we were right in our convictions about our side of this." Paraphrase that, as that. Also, this also has to do with Andy getting his Twitter back, because apparently somebody was controlling or something up until fairly recently.
Okay.
So there is that.
Alrighty.
So yes, that is your Stan Lee Watch for this week. Mr. and Mrs. X Number 1 gives Rogue and Gambit new costumes. So, as you well know, Rogue and Gambit just tied to not in X-Men book as opposed to in Colossus. And they have a new book coming out. Actually, yeah, next week. Mr. and Mrs. X. I'm actually strangely looking to check this out. But yeah, so they get the new costumes of not the ones that you're seeing here. It's something different. But yeah, we'll see what those new costumes are like when that shows up.
Alrighty. Next up, the Marvel Unlimited digital subscription library continues to grow by leaps and bounds this July.
Well, it grows anyway. Like there's stuff like the classic stuff that they could have put in by now that they haven't. But yeah, so we get a bunch of new stuff. Most of it's relatively recent, within the last, like I said, 3 or 4 months, like I said earlier. So it is what it is. But it's some good stuff if you're already into that and into Marvel Unlimited, which is a good resource. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse toys reveal Prowler, Spider-Gwen, Kingpin, Green Goblin, and more. Which happened to this, what happened to this article? But yeah, so this December, this Into the Spider-Verse has come out, and there's some toys that come out that's giving hints to.
It's there. Oh, you're waiting for it to load?
It's It's actually loaded, so that might be, I don't know, something stopping. That might be my whatever. Either way, it doesn't matter because there wasn't really much to it outside of a couple of pictures. But we're definitely getting. We know other people who are going to be in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse because of these toys coming out.
Oh, these are like drugstore toys.
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was hoping for like Marvel Legends, but not.
Nah, I would have said so. So.
Gotcha. Alrighty. Let's see. Next up, Mondo reveals Comic-Con 2018 exclusive Marvel pins. Oh, these are cool. They're corner box pins.
Yeah, I kind of want some of these pins. I grant the one, but specifically, but you know,
the Gauntlet one looks nice.
Which one?
The Gauntlet.
Yeah, I know, right? That one does too. So apparently, pins is a big thing. I guess within the last few years, I know like there's been a lot with Disney and other places doing pin stuff and their collector's items and whatnot. So in this case, Mondo, which I did not know was a subsidiary of Alamo Draft House, and they do a lot of posters and collectible stuff, and records and all that kind of good mess. But so they've previously released Marvel pins depicting Loki, Ego, Guardians of the Galaxy, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Cap, Black Panther, U.S. Agent, other folks. They're going to do Okoye, Shuri, Killmonger, Nebula, the Infinity Gauntlet, and Thanos in this run. So if you're going to Comic-Con 2018, I guess you'll have a chance to maybe get some of these. So, cool, though.
Alrighty.
Let's see. Next up, I'm happy about this. Wizards of the Coast is making a Transformers card game. So Wizards of the Coast are the people that own Magic the Gathering, and they do a lot of other trading card games, and this is another in the line of that. It will be coming out in September, I believe it is. Yes, September 2018. It'll be a basic Autobot themed starter pack with the first wave of booster packs coming out at around the same time. So if you've played Magic the Gathering, you kind of know what this is going to be about.
Okay.
Actually, it's not even that much of a difference. So the big thing about this one is they're going to have like character cards, and the character cards are going to be double the size of regular cards. But on these character cards, like one side is going to be the vehicle mode, and the other side is going to be the transform mode, because they're going to
It's kind of like Overpower.
I guess so. I've never played Overpower, but I don't know. And to answer Matt Wang,
yes, for God's sake, Wang.
Oh yes, I want some of it, because, like I said, I was like when I saw this article and I put it in our group chat, like, and I know the other Transformer fan being PC_Dirt. I don't know if he was interested in it because of card expect, but nevertheless, I am, because I'm a fan of card games and I'm also a fan of Transformers. So this kind of hits me in the sweet spot. I've been slightly getting back into Magic a little bit, but not so much to get serious about it. But yeah, so
I was going to say it's nice to have insiders on the Combo Chronicles team right there.
Right. My only problem with the character cards. So, and by the way, the character cards are kind of like the Planeswalkers cards in Magic the Gathering.
Okay.
If you know anything about those.
Nay.
Yeah, I know Matt and and a lot of other people
definitely knows
about them. Yeah, BDM, also former guest of the show.
Mm-hmm.
But the matter is, like, they're going to be double the size of the regular cards. It was like that kind of, I know there's probably going to be a reason for it, but it's like, and it's double sided, so therefore it's like once you pull that card out, like you kind of know, like I know there's something about it that I don't know about it, and I'll look into it later, because the Planeswalker stuff is still, I'm still kind of getting my head back into the game on that one. But nevertheless, it's a thing. It's basically Magic with Transformers coverings to them, and I'm excited for it. Moving right along.
Next up, Mego Toys is staging a comeback with a new line of action figures. So the new line is going to be
I really hope that this is not what it's going to look like.
Based on characters from DC, Star Trek, Firefly, Charmed, and The Wizard of Oz, and more beginning this October.
So I'm wondering, I don't know if Migos is not to be confused with the rap group, but
no, Mego or Mego, but Mego.
Yeah. So there's a documentary on, I don't know if you've seen it, Agent_70. Why don't I keep saying the underscore? Good Lord. Called Toys That Made Us.
Yes, on Netflix.
Yes. Do you know if this is a brand that shows up in that or not, or
not yet? I don't believe.
Yeah. So I don't know. I've been meaning to go and watch that, because
it's excellent. It's excellent. You can watch them all, like even the ones that focus on toys that obviously we're not the target demographic for. It's still lots of fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm looking forward, especially for the Star Trek and the Transformers stuff. And
right, the Star Trek, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Star Wars, Star Trek.
So, but yeah, nevertheless, like I said, that is a thing, and you're going to be making a comeback.
The Lego one is pretty good.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, that was also one. Yeah, like I said, I need to go and check those out. But the toy line from Mego is going to come out starting next week in Target stores and online July 29th. Like I said, not sure if the ones at the top of this article, if you're watching the video, is going to be a representation of it, or that is something from like their old line, which I would imagine it would be.
Right.
Regardless, that is a thing. Look for it. Dark Horse launches new direct-to-consumer division, Dark Horse Direct. So this is Dark Horse, which I thought they had this already, and so this is their toy line. Their statues, toys, figures, graphic. Based off of their properties that they deal with. Let's see, they're going to be doing Game of Thrones, looks like, and Umbrella Academy, Spaceboy Maquette, and some other stuff. And that is coming. I think we'll probably see more of that at oh wait, nope. Pre-order now. Yeah, at around San Diego Comic-Con, you can see more on that. And it looks like they're going to be retailing for $40 to some stuff. So next up.
Alrighty, the mind-bending comic Mind MGMT is coming back in a very weird and cool way. So this was by Matt Kindt. I read one of the spin-off books on this, and I read a little bit of this series when it was initially out. So now Matt Kindt, the creator, is launching a crowdfunding initiative to release an all-new one-shot comic set in that universe.
Yes, and also
include a vinyl record, right?
Which that's an interesting way to do things. But yeah. So look for that if you're a fan of Matt Kindt and or Mind MGMT. Meet the professor who's going to teach a college course all about Batman, because college is way cooler than it was when I was going to school.
I mean, tell the parents who are paying X number of dollars, right?
True. Yeah. Like, wait, I'm paying all this money for you to do for you to go to do that? Really? So this August, the University of Baltimore will be offering a course called The Evolution of Batman, taught by award-winning poet Stephen Lavia.
Won a lot of awards I've never heard of, but go on.
So look forward to that this August. I'm pretty sure that'll be a fairly popular class. But yeah, this is an article about in an interview with the professor and running down the syllabus and whatnot. What's going to be going on in that class. Cool.
Alrighty. Next up, this book about the anatomy of DC heroes and villains looks absolutely gorgeous. Okay, so in the vein of Grey's Anatomy, you can take a look at what Superman's eyeball might look like on the inside.
No, right.
There's plenty of detail to provide, I guess, to somehow provide how the powers or reveal how powers may work. So, written by S.D. Perry and Matthew Manning and published by Inside Editions, the book's going to have extensive set of chapters covering members of the Justice League and covering lots of the villains. So, it's going to be kind of a weird-looking product right there.
Yeah, it's worth noting that the book will be told from the perspective of, I believe, Batman, since he would be the one to have this kind of in-depth knowledge of the people around him, and has.
Right.
So I don't know. It seems to be it's almost like those Marvel Universe, the Marvel handbooks, except for way deeper.
Yeah. I mean, at most they would like go into like Wolverine's skeleton.
Right.
This is a bit more.
Yeah, this is just a little deeper than that. So I don't know. I'm curious. I might actually pick this book up. Bendis promises Lois and John will return to Superman comics in a big, bold story. We don't know what that is. We're just going to move on. So we'll take his word for that. Next up.
Alrighty, next up we have DC's Milestone imprint relaunches this October, says the Static Shock artist.
Now, I don't think we saw anything in the solicits about this, did we not? I don't recall.
Well, the October solicits were supposed to be out this month, right?
I thought they were already out. Or let me see. Yeah, or coming out soon. They're probably within the next week. If they haven't been out already, then they should be out within the next week, so we'll find out.
Okay.
That being the case, but I thought October solicits was already out, and I could be mistaken about that. Regardless, Kyle Baker tweeted that DC tells me that's been moved to October. My delivery schedule has also been adjusted by DC. They told me to deliver bi-monthly instead of monthly. We want all the books to be good, and more time should help us maintain the high quality you should expect from DC. DC and Milestone have not confirmed this revised schedule, mind you. So take it for what it is, and they're also doing that. There's been some lawsuits around this, so maybe they got that cleared up. Next up, G. Willow Wilson and Carrie Nord takes over Wonder Woman ongoing. I am a fan of G. Willow Wilson's, as we have spoken of with Miss Marvel. She's also done a Vixen miniseries, which is what I first heard her from. Before Miss Marvel back in the day. So I am curious about this. I've been off and on reading, or at least collecting Wonder Woman as of recent years, but I haven't necessarily been reading them, so I don't know. I may have just stopped buying them recently, so I may or may not go back to this book because of this. Or at least to check out the first couple of issues to see what she's going to do with the book.
Right. All right. Next up.
15.
You were saying?
She's going to start with Wonder Woman number 58 in November.
Gotcha. Alrighty. R.L. Stine, the author, has inked a multi-book deal with Boom Studios. Good for him.
Yeah, so probably more Goosebumps type fear-inducing stuff. Cool beans. I kind of wish Dirt was here for this one because it seemed like something right up his alley. In that, Murder Falcon, Get Ready to Shred is a new book that from Eisner-nominated writer Daniel Warren Johnson of Extremity and Space Mullet, 2 books I've not heard of, will launch an all-new headbanging, face-melting adventure from Image Skybound.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you didn't get the subtle hints there will be metal. Yeah! I don't know. This October, that's when it's going to come out.
There you go.
If I need to explain what Murder Falcon's about, I don't know what to tell you guys. I shouldn't, probably.
That's
we'll move on. We'll let your imagination go with that. Next up. Connor Nolan debut Wizard Beat at Boom Studios. So, yeah. The Wizard exists. So I guess this is about wizards that have their own beach, and now they're just kind of out and about, chilling and relaxing. It seems kind of interesting. I don't know. I saw this and I'm like, all right, well, we'll see what comes out of that one.
Okay. Next up, Gerard Way's Umbrella Academy will return for a 3rd miniseries.
Good on him, I guess. Or that's true.
Okay.
October 3rd is when that's going to come out, and it's going to be 7 issues. Lollipop Kids protect U.S. against European monsters brought over from the American Dream. Now, when I first saw this, I was like, I don't know
what.
Yeah. So, and that was the reaction that I had when I first read this. But apparently, according to this article, so Lollipop Kids plays with the idea that immigrants who have poured into this country for 400 years didn't come over here in search of the American dream. They came over here to get rid of their monsters so their home countries would never again have to suffer, which in today's political climate sound like that's probably what's happened. Which means America is the secret prison to all of the monsters throughout history, everything from dragons, the big bad wolf, Medusa, Vlad the Impaler, Crump, Frankenstein, and they have all been locked away for hundreds of years in the Greensward Forest, better known today as Central Park. Like, you better be careful up there.
Yeah, right? Seriously.
So this is where Lollipop Kids come in. They're basically the ones that fight the monster. They're kids that were born in generationally and come along every generation to fight the monsters.
Okay.
Not Buffy the Vampire.
So it's not the Lollipop Guild, but the Lollipop Kids.
Right.
Oy.
So I don't know. Like I said, hearing the description of that, according to this, it's Harry Potter for inner city kids, and my love letter to Central Park says Nick Motley, who I think is the writer.
Okay.
Or who's the artist. Yes, because Adam Glass and his 14-year-old son were the ones who came up with this.
Alrighty.
I don't know who that Nick Motley person. Oh, yeah, I don't know who that Nick Motley person is because they're not in the creative thing. But anyway, that's the thing. It's coming. It is going to be from Aftershock Comics, and there you go.
Okay. And finally, Robert Kirkman has surprise launched a new comic at Skybound Entertainment and Image Comics called Die Die Die.
There you go.
It's not the Dance of Joy.
Not the Dance of Joy. According to this cover here, it says bullets.
I'm sorry. Oh man,
the Dance of Joy. Yeah.
Oh.
So the bullet-ridden ultraviolet mayhem from Skybound. That's
die. I'm sorry.
Pretty much all you need to know about that one.
All right.
Oh wait, except for it is actually out this week. Now that I think about it, or now that this article says also, because I did see something else about it that it's going over there, but I don't think we got any review copies of it.
Alrighty. So I don't think we have any unwrappings or unboxings this week. Do you?
No.
Okay, so let me do an ad read, and then we can fold in a mini treasury edition, because there are a couple things that have dropped in the last couple of weeks that I think we should talk about. Stuff that PCN_Dirt may not have read, and since Tim Dog 98 is still on his Timbatical, we may as well just knock out. Unless you wanted to devote a special show to these.
Okay, I know one of them you're going to talk about, and I'm pretty sure I haven't seen the other one that you're going to mention.
You haven't finished watching Luke Cage?
I definitely haven't done that. No.
Oh wow. Okay, so I won't talk about Luke Cage other than
I'm now watching Iron Fist, which I know I don't have to for this, but I'm watching Iron Fist is going.
okay. So then we don't necessarily have to spin off into a new show just yet. But let me read this ad and then we can talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yes.
So our last ad for the night is for Funko, Fun at First Sight, your home for exclusive collectibles such as their world famous pop, vinyl bobbleheads, apparel, t-shirts, hats, and socks, and brand merchandise, custom DIY pop figures, art books, and skateboards. And now the listeners of the KLIQ Nation's Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy 10% off your entire purchase when shopping at Funko. To place your first order with 10% off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcasts free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Funko link and place your order. When you get to the checkout, put in the offer code SHOP10 for your 10% off discount. Funko through cspn.us. Do it today. Alrighty. So as we wrap this week's show, I'd like to talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp, the latest installment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What did you think of this movie, Roddy?
I'm on record as saying that this was fun. I don't think I actually said it on this show, but it was definitely fun. It definitely plays on beats that were introduced in Ant-Man, the original Ant-Man movie.
We won't spoil things, folks. I think this will just be a very broad stroke review.
There's a couple of characters that got, well, there's at least one character that's got a good bit of more exposure, and also exposes the fact that, hey, this character is a way better character than the first part of the title character of the title of the movie.
Well, I think that the characters are well cast for one thing, right? And I think what Roddy Cat is getting at, he could just come out and say it, is that the Wasp is a much more capable hero than Ant-Man, but I think that's the charm of it all.
Right.
We're not talking about the most capable superhero. We're talking about the most the I don't want to say the least capable, because he's definitely still capable of doing many things that most people aren't.
Well, that's true. And they kind of don't really, and which this one and the first one, they don't really go on the fact that he's actually fairly intelligent, even though he's like a goofball regardless, because I mean he's an electrical engineer.
Exactly.
But they don't really
still capable, but at the end of the day, yeah, the Wasp is definitely the more super heroic of the two.
Mm-hmm.
But as you said, I love this movie because it was full of laughs. Like, it just kept going, but it was still so well written. There's still lots of drama. In all honesty, the storyline isn't all that strong, but the way it's acted, the cast just carries the movie from start to finish, and you will enjoy pretty much every minute you're watching.
Yeah, I felt like they like I think, like I was saying, telling Dirt, they almost feels like they kind of lean on the beats of the original Ant-Man a little much, but they actually don't. They almost get to that point, because like if you've seen Ant-Man, some of the stuff that you've seen there, you will see here,
right? But
a lot more action than the first one, and whatnot.
Right, because we're not dealing with the learning curve, and we're also not dealing with the personality clash between Hope Van Dyne and Scott Lang. So
definitely didn't go as far as because as good a movie as it was, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 kind of leaned into certain things. Like, hey, you like this stuff in the first movie? We're gonna give you way more of that stuff.
Right.
Which kind of took it down a little bit. This one didn't get that far into that, but
it was a good, it was a good turn. It was a good, I don't want to say palate cleanser, but it was definitely a nice mood shift from Infinity War. until you get to the end.
Yes.
So that's a minor spoiler right there, folks. Sorry about that. But yeah, that's for the most part, this movie, the main body of the movie, is definitely a nice change of pace, and it was very welcome. Like I was saying to my friends at the movie theater, like we deal with a lot, day to day, in this day and age right now. But to sit back and watch something like that, where you can kind of just it all sort of melts away for a little while, and you just sort of get to enjoy and laugh and cheer, and it was a welcome change of pace for myself, at least, and for the people in my theater that night.
Yeah, same. I think it was pretty much the same here. Now it's worth noting that there's been some articles saying that this while this movie is good, it does still have some problems here and there.
Sure,
but whether how deep you are into what those problems could be, your mileage theory. But initial run, it was definitely a fun movie to go and watch, and like Agent 7 said, just kind of laugh and stuff. And in fact, speaking of laughing, I will say this is kind of spoilered and kind of not spoilered. So there are 2 end credits, as almost per usual with these Marvel movies. I laughed at the first one.
I'm sorry?
I laughed at the first end credit.
Oh man, that one brought gas to a lot of people.
Well, see, that's just it, and that was the other reason, because people were in the feeling some kind of way about it when it happened, after the end of that thing happened,
right?
And I was kind of like that too, but I just had to laugh. I was like, okay,
yeah. So now we know where we are in the timeline. So
yeah, and I had a good laugh on that one. So I was like, oh, that was pretty good.
It was well played. Well played.
As almost you could say the second one, which I was like, well, which also makes sense.
Followed logically, yeah.
Yes, because like I told somebody, it was like, well, given that Infinity War is still in the air, like, what could they have possibly done?
Sure.
With that, when given that Infinity War is still kind of hanging around.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, all right. So that's our take on our hot takes on Ant-Man and the Wasp. Not a full Treasury edition here. Maybe a mini Treasury edition at the end of our regular show. So,
I guess ask you, in this point, would you go see it again?
Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
Okay. I've actually debated that one, but then again, I've been saying that for the last couple of movies, and and now that Infinity War is about to come out soon on on Blu-ray, that's not ceasing to be an option on that front. But
I mean, I saw Infinity War twice in the theaters, because I
said I was, but I never did. So I can't say that this one would warrant a rewatch as much. Not saying it's not good, but it's just like, I think I got to get the point of this one.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, it's just a lot of fun, and I don't mind having some fun, like just to get some laughs, but that's this latest mini Treasury edition. So I guess you can wrap the show, and we'll get on out of here.
Yeah, we may or may not do something about Luke Cage. I hopefully, if my cards stay together, then I will have finished watching that within probably the next my birthday or something. I don't freaking know. Regardless, we'll stay tuned to that. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about the second season of Luke Cage, because they made some interesting decisions in terms of where they want to take the character.
So I'm hearing, and I'm trying, was trying not to get spoiled on some of this stuff. But people just kind of say things that happen in the episodes they're watching. And it's like, okay,
right? Like, not everyone is as conscientious as your fellow co-host. So.
With that, folks, we have come to the end of another exciting episode of the Comic Chronicles. We thank you, each and every one of you, for coming out. If you haven't checked out the video, you should come check us out on the video version Thursday nights, 9 p.m. ish, on the KLIQ Nation YouTube channel, or thekliqnation.com. That's /live. That's DKLIQ You can check out our co-hosts who are not with us. PC_Dirt and PC_Dirt on Twitter. You can also check him out on Pop Culture Net on Twitter, popculturenetwork.com, ineedcomics.com. Go check him and his stuff out there. Also from Tim Dad 98 at Tim Dog 98. That's Tim DOGG 98 on Twitter. That's the KLIQ Nation, the KLIQ NATION, all one word on Twitter. CB Cron on Twitter, and also the KLIQNation.com. You can also check out Tim at CBR, where he's writing his ass off and doing things over there. So go check him out there. Agent_70 on Twitter, and also on Instagram. You got any other things you starting off, or I don't know?
No, not right now.
Okay, well, stay tuned for that, folks. And you can also find me, Roddycat, at Roddycat on Twitter. No underscore like PC_dirt had the note last week. That's what I get for not reading the email before it goes out, or when it goes out. But RODDYKAT, all one word, on Twitter. News Nerds Need on Twitter. News Nerds Need Reddit is out there. CB Caps, that's CB Caps on Instagram, where I do comic book panels that I enjoyed, like possibly that one that we did earlier from Plastic Man.
Sure.
There. You can also find this podcast on CSPN. That is our home, the CSPN.us, where this podcast and other podcasts are found. You can subscribe to this here podcast on Google Play and Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts. You can also go to SoundCloud. We're on the CSPN SoundCloud there. We're in other places, I'm pretty sure. I think we're on I still need to check that out, whether we're on iHeartRadio or not with some of the other stuff, but we'll find that out regardless. We could be on Spotify, put us up on Spotify, hey, we're cool people. But you can also go to shop.cspn.us, get some merch there from this show and other shows, and help support the network. We try to get so try to keep up on that. And with that, while I try to pull this back up, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. We will see you again next week. Have a good night, folks.
Good evening, Rick.
Would you believe it's Dr. Doom?
What's on your evil mind?
Hold your insulting tongue and mark my words well.
How about this rumor that you are really hired, Mr. Stark?
That's so Wang.